On this episode of My So-Called Podcast, we are going back to the week of March 13th, 1992.
That's when No Doubt released No Doubt, their self-titled album. And Johnathan Lynn released a little comedy called My Cousin Vinny.
Like the past. The movie never changes. It can't change, but every time you see it, it seems different because you were different. What did you see different things?
Hey, welcome to My So-Called Podcast. I am Gary Linton.
And I am still Eric Spiegel.
Yes. Eric, this is a podcast where we go back to a week in the 90s. We take a look at an album and a movie. An album and a movie, that's right, that were released roughly the same week. What are we talking about this week?
You know, Gary, we're talking about the band No Doubt. They released their first album for Interscope, 1992.
I mean, is this their first album just for Interscope, or their first album ever?
Yeah, both.
Oh, okay,
that's true. It was a re-recording of their there was what was going to be their independent first album.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Releasing
in a
it
little
themselves.
Bit. Yeah.
Hey, you were asking specific questions about No Doubt. We're also going to watch. We're going to talk about My Cousin Vinny, which you could have gone to see at the movie theater if you had lived like in Orange County and had one of the 30,000 copies of No Doubt that sold. It wouldn't be us. It's not fair to say, did you have this album in 1992, I don't think, to somebody that's from St. Louis, because I don't even think it was for sale here.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting tidbit. Are we doing this podcast by ourselves?
No, Gary, you know what I hear? I hear some people coming in right now.
Oh, okay.
Do you hear that?
I'll play along and say yes.
Oh, hey, welcome, guys. It's
hi.
Hey. Phil Norris.
Hello.
Our Jeanne Norris and Phil Norris. Or the Nori.
There you go.
Yep.
So
we have many names.
We have 2/3 of the Nori on right now. We have the majority of the Nori.
Can't believe you're going to seal the deal and get the whole bunch. You know?
I do think that the third Nori did watch the movie, right?
He did.
He liked it too.
Same with my clan. I think I had 4 or 5 watched it. So yeah, welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
We hope that your opinions about No Doubt's self-titled album and My Cousin Vinny won't get so heated in here that Gary and I have to play kind of a marriage ref situation where I'd be Jerry Seinfeld, obviously, and Gary would be that other guy.
We'll do our best. I don't foresee a lot of contention, mostly because Phil is kind of a roll with it kind of a guy.
Is the marriage ref too obscure a poll now, Gary?
Yeah, I didn't get
NBC follow-up to Seinfeld.
I didn't get the reference, yeah. So.
Jerry and some guy.
Oh, you don't have to explain. That's okay.
Had a show where they would have real couples on that had a fight with one another, and they would humorously talk them through it or make fun of them. This was a real show on television. This was after Seinfeld was, off the air, and so I guess Jerry had carte blanche, and he made the marriage ref.
He was bouncing back from a B movie, yeah, right.
Yeah, those were his 2 big things.
Whoa. Yep. I guess I might vaguely remember that.
I remember that.
I feel like maybe this is like a Berenstain versus Berenstain moment. Like, did that really happen?
Well, I could imagine that the marriage ref is a figment of my imagination or a portion of just my matrix, and you have a slightly different adjacent matrix. I believe that. That's the level of importance it is. That it wouldn't make me feel like I was crazy if you told me that that didn't exist.
I think you made that one up.
That's fine. I mean, it's actually probably better for Jerry's career, to be honest. Turns out Jerry without Larry David is not as good. Sorry, Jerry. Jerry's a listener, so he knows that it's all fun.
Well, then I'll withhold the juicy Jerry gossip that I...
Ooh.
Oh, no, please don't withhold the tea. Spill it.
I mean, it's kind of dark. I mean, it's just that he would hang out at a park and, like, try to pick up high school chicks and stuff. Like,
Well,
Like when he was in high school?
No.
No.
Oh,
Isn't it
And when you
post-
say a park,
post-Seinfeld?
you mean Central Park? Did he
I
hang
don't
out at
know.
Central Perk ever? Was there a crossover for that?
That
mean,
happened.
He did marry a very young child, I think,
Yeah.
eventually. So that story at least makes sense in light of that, although it could have just been an urban legend that grew up out of him marrying a child.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I just know that he got Twitter roasted because he did this, like, fashion photo shoot for some person, and he looked very fly in his clothing, but
Like
Thought he looked
recently?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, depressingly, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. But you know,
nothing surprises us anymore, right?
well, I guess not. But I'm glad I missed that.
I know. It's like,
Although you did bring a little joy from Twitter into my life with that AI cryptid thing. That was good, Jeannie.
oh yeah, Loab, or however you say your name.
What I need is somebody to cull the entertaining but not soul-crushing parts of Twitter and like put it in a little newsletter, print it out, mail it to me.
Like a zine?
Yeah. I'm lo-fi. I'll listen to my LPs, read my zine about Twitter.
You're a real lo-fi girl.
I'll figure out what happened like 6 months ago on Twitter now.
Not if you hang out with her. She'll keep you
that's what I'm
updated.
Yeah, but if you could type this into a zine and mimeograph it for me, that'd be great.
Yeah. Printed
This-
on colored paper.
Smeary purple ink that I can't read gets on my fingers. That's what I'm after.
I'll do my best. I'll try it out.
So yeah, I don't want there to be a marriage ref situation. That's how we got there. We are.
Thanks
Are you
for-
guys excited?
Thanks for putting
to
a
talk about?
bow on that.
Yeah.
I just need. In psychiatry, we would say that I'm circumstantial. Gary.
Okay,
I
okay.
go all over the world. I come back to where I started.
Gotcha.
So you guys pick this one. A spoiler alert to the audience. We're gonna try and think of what we did in 1992 now, and this might get a little depressing for me.
Okay.
Because you guys are gonna be pretty young, right?
Not him.
Oh, come on. I was 14.
I was 7.
You were 7. Oh, we got a real Seinfeld on our hands
It
here.
wasn't even October. Right.
Absolutely.
I was even 6 at that time, if we're talking March of 92.
We are indeed.
Well, then I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember being 6, Jeannie? I bet you have 1 or 2 memories from kindergarten, right?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
And they are.
But actually, like,
doing
by
this
that time, I probably would have been in 1st grade because I started school rather early. So you want me to share a memory from 1st grade?
Yeah, that's what we do.
I'm going to be a big downer because I remember exactly one
yikes.
thing from 1st grade.
Okay. I mean, you already took us down that
I know.
Seinfeld avenue, so
I'm
we're
really
already there.
sad. I'm sorry. I'm really going to, like, paint myself in a particular way, but okay. So the only thing literally that I remember from 1st grade is, and he already knows what story I'm going to tell probably. Oh no. Well,
I do not.
You will as soon as I start to tell it. there was a cool puzzle that everybody got to do only special people got to do in the front of the class. And I was one of those special people that got picked to do the puzzle. And then I had to pee, and I asked to go to the bathroom, and my teacher said, well, if you do, then you can't do the puzzle anymore.
Oh, what a horrible teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You missed your chance to pee on a puzzle, in my opinion.
I'm not done with the story yet.
Oh.
Maybe you didn't.
So I was 6. What are you going to do as a 6-year-old?
You pick puzzle.
You pick the puzzle, and
Yeah.
so then my body still picked to pee. And so I did. And so my only memory of first grade is peeing my tights because it was Catholic school.
It's a vivid.
I'm so sorry.
I remember that story.
Forget, I'm sure.
I'm really sorry.
No.
But that was my reality.
I remember there was one time we were watching a movie in kindergarten, and the teacher called us up one at a time to her desk and asked us our address, and I knew it, and I was like, nailed it! That wasn't in 92, mind you. Bill, you remember being 13? Oh, because it was emotionally salient. That's why.
Yeah. 13, I was either in 8th or 9th grade. I didn't pee on a puzzle or anything.
Already winning.
But I did, at that point in my life, have a combination of a mullet and shaved sides.
Oh, nice. Well, right.
So I was looking pretty cool.
Yes.
You look like that was a full-on hockey haircut. Were you into hockey? Did you?
No,
like hockey?
I was just. That was a compromise actually between me and my parents because I wanted to grow long hair, but they thought the mullet was a good compromise.
Wow, I've never heard it so like described as like a treatise between two warring parties.
No,
like,
they didn't want me to have long hair.
And,
So I
and
guess
then
they
you end up with
party in
the
the
thing
back.
where nobody's happy, nobody enjoys what's going on,
No,
right?
It was awkward time.
It's so great.
East
A mullet
Germany.
is a compromise.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it actually is called some places the Missouri Compromise.
That makes sense then. Because that's where I was at.
Oh, goodness. Well, it's not the first time that mullets have come up on this podcast, and it won't be the last. If you remember correctly, in the early 90s, you're going to remember quite a few mullets. Gary, you remember being, what, were you 14 at the time?
Yeah, I probably was 14. I think I was probably just going around peeing on myself too. You know, I was a dumb 14-year-old. You know, I didn't know any better.
Getting so less cute.
Yes. That's because
I was really racking my brains about the 8th grade, and so here's the deal. I went to junior high, and it was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade in junior high, and then our high school was overcrowded, 10th, 11th, 12th. People know. They'll listen to the podcast. The careful listener.
I definitely
You just
know.
go to they can go to our wiki page and see all about my junior high years. But anyway, the thing that I was thinking about, there isn't one of those, is that I think I remember stuff from junior high, and I either categorize it as 7th or 9th. And I really, really cannot remember much that happened like at school in the 8th grade. And when I think of a memory, I have a hard time placing it as 8th grade because I think I add in like people from the 9th grade or I subtract it to 7th grade. So anyway, whatever. That's weird how memory works. But I don't know if I can accurately remember. Some of the memories I think might be. I don't know. That's it. That's the weird thing that happened to me when I was trying to do this. I'm not going to make something up. I don't remember. Gary usually just makes a joke when this happens, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I did earlier. I wasn't really peeing myself. That was just a joke. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I apologize.
You know what?
Changes the way I feel about you.
Yes. So, well, so what we also like to do now is tell each other, do some trivia questions from 1992. Eric
That's
and I
true.
will ask each other questions. Phil, Jeannie, you are our phone of friends. You could help either of us. Don't feel free to, help us or hinder us if you want. If you don't want Eric to win, hint, hint. But
They can only hinder me.
that's right. That's right.
You know I'm listening, right?
I did not know that. No, I honestly did not think you
Did you
listened
need me
to
to
me.
turn my headphones off? I can turn my headphones off.
I
if
just
wanna
assumed you
tell
did not
secrets.
listen to me. So,
I got a lot of work to do to win your approval tonight, Gary.
that's right. Eric, I am in the lead, 16-12. So
That's true.
What would you
So
like
you
to
call
do?
the shots. You want me to ask you?
Yeah, let's do that.
What do you think the answer to this one is, Gary? What fast food chain hoped to lure more kids by unleashing the Franksters?
The Franksters. Do Jenny, Phil, either of you remember the Franksters?
Pranksters.
It almost sounds like a Hardee's thing, but
All right, I like it. That's enough for me because I don't remember. I'm going to go with Hardee's or Carl's Jr. Eric.
Nope. Neither one is right. Neither is green burrito or red burrito.
Okay.
Which both have been affiliated and disaffiliated with Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, which keeps changing. It's not that. It's Nathan's, which I keep forgetting that Nathan's Hot Dogs is a fast food restaurant.
That I
I've
would have
never even heard of it.
Never.
You probably have seen Nathan's hot dogs at the grocery
Yeah.
store. They're like yellow with the yeah. Mhm.
Yellow and green or something like that.
Yes, and they're kind of expensive, and they're all beef. But they were at the time
beef.
trying to kosher dogs. Oh, the Franksters were. It looks sort of like. Smurfs, but they're hot dogs.
So delicious Smurfs.
Yes. I'll text you guys a picture. There's a hot dog with swimming trunks and a surfboard and a backwards cap, and there's a hot dog with a Nathan's N belt and a cape. So I guess that's super.
Frank.
Surprised I didn't know.
Super
I would have got him.
Super Frank, he's super Frankin' now.
That was good.
So you didn't get that one, Gary.
Oh. All right. Okay, Eric, I'm going to ask you a question then. I guess we'll keep going.
Okay.
Which character on the Larry Sanders Show filled his newsletter with gems like, "If I had my druthers, there would be no more world hunger"?
Is the answer to this question by any chance Larry Sanders?
I don't.
Do I get multiple choice for the Larry Sanders cast? Because I only know the Larry Sanders guy.
Right.
Phil, Jeannie, did either of you guys watch Larry Sanders?
Yeah.
I kind of did.
Phone a
I
friend.
think, but I don't know any of the characters' names. I got their faces.
Is there like a Phil? Maybe there's a Phil.
That's what I was wondering too. Is there a Phil?
There's not a Phil. This character, I mean, there might have been a Phil. This character's name was Hank Kingsley.
Hank.
Oh, he was the sidekick, wasn't he?
He was
Right,
the Ed
yeah.
McMahon.
I was
And
gonna-
that's the guy from Transparent and
Jeffrey Tambor.
Arrested Development.
Oh.
Also a sexual harasser.
I don't
Right?
know. I don't think he was a sexual harasser. I think he was just an abuser on set. And he would
Like
just,
an abusive personality?
yes, to work with. Yes, I believe is the case.
Okay. Sorry. I really need like a different Wikipedia. For
Well,
what
don't hold that.
everybody's done
I
wrong.
mean, don't. I may not be true, but I remember them talking about like the cast of Arrested Development being like, yeah, sure, he could blow up, but we all get stressed sometimes. But there may have been other issues.
Oh man, now I'm bringing it down. But they mentioned Hank Greenlee, so Gary,
Hey,
what
Kingsley.
animated Disney title character
Animated-
originally modeled after Michael J. Fox was later retooled to resemble Tom Cruise?
animated title character originally modeled after, but Tom Cruise in
1992.
19. You know who that is? That's the Prince of himself, Aladdin.
Prince Ali.
Ali, that's right. That's what I was going to go for, yes.
That was Owen's tryout song whenever he was trying out to be in a musical. Year 2020. Yeah, he made it. Musicals did not happen, but practice the Prince Ali. That was fun.
Eric, I will ask you another question. Eric, I have no more pop culture questions on this card.
I started with Nathan's hot dogs, so
Yeah, but then you gave me Aladdin. And so I will do what presidential hopeful was once dubbed the first welfare billionaire after he snagged the data processing contract for Medicare and Medicaid. Presidential candidate.
in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Which presidential candidate was dubbed the first welfare billionaire?
That's right.
I mean, I don't think that is Bill Clinton, guys. I need some help. I don't think it is.
Well, it could no. It could.
I don't think it was
Ross
Bill
Perot. Ross Perot. I'm gonna vote for Ross Perot. What do you think?
I mean, because it's either got to be Bush, Clinton, or Perot, right?
Well, yes, if we're talking about November, but like there were probably more candidates early in '92, right? That were going for the Democratic.
It's Perot. It's Perot. All right.
Oh,
This guy-
Thanks, Gary, for
Yep.
cutting that off at the
Yes.
knees. That's good. Thank you. What political wife? Oh, this poor form trivia card.
Yes.
Maybe I'll skip that one. What star of A League of Their Own nearly made the U.S. Olympic archery team?
Oh yeah. Do you guys know that one? We've done. I think we were even talked about this when we did our episode, Eric, of League of Their Own. I believe that was Gina Davis. She was.
Whoa.
I mean, that's a harder question if you don't say what League of Their Own star, because
Yes,
she's like the main person on the poster.
that's right.
you know?
It would have been harder if they said what Transylvania 65000 star.
Right. What Earth Girls Are Easy star?
That's right. What star of The Fly, the
Right.
remake?
Now, watch your mouth. I'm I love me some Cronenberg Fly.
Yeah, it's a great movie. What do you not love? Earth Girls Are Easy or Transylvania 65000? What?
Well, I mean, I don't love them yet.
Oh, okay.
Let's put it that way. Do I have one more question?
You do have one more question. I'm gonna go ahead and throw you like in League of Their Own. They call this a softball. What U.S. state began?
I think they were playing baseball. In that movie.
I don't remember the movie. What U.S. state began offering tourist info from 1-800-33-GUMBO?
Louisiana.
All right, you going down to Louisiana?
Wow.
You remember that Creole guy on PBS? Is that who you were doing an imitation of just now?
He's still on there.
I was doing an imitation of every Creole guy.
Yep. So, with that out of the way, we can talk about what was at the movie theaters. No, what was on the radio.
That's right. These are the songs that were on the charts when No Doubt released their first album, cleverly titled No Doubt. Number 10 was...
They also had a song called No Doubt, which is not on this album.
Oh.
No doubt.
It didn't make it to the album.
Wow, that is interesting, I guess. Number 10.
It's the triple threat. No Doubt by No Doubt off the album No Doubt.
Yes. Number 10 that week was Breaking My Heart, parentheses, Pretty Brown Eyes by Mint Condition. I don't remember that song. Eric's going to play it now. I hope we don't get sued by Mint Condition for using their music.
If it's under a certain amount of seconds, it should be okay, right?
We're kind of discussing it, so that also gives us fair use.
Well, the other thing is like, I think if anything gives Mint Conditions more plays on Spotify, they're probably okay with it. If,
Right.
If just one person just went like, oh yeah, I remember that, I'll listen to that again, like, we're just advertising them.
And we're not making any money off of this, so...
Quite the contrary. They can have a percentage of our either profits or losses, and they'll end up paying us.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, well, that's how I'm going to write the contract, Gary.
Okay. Number 9 is I Can't Dance by Genesis. I remember this album from Genesis.
I know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was 92.
Yeah, Invisible Touch, right? That was off the Invisible Touch album.
No, Invisible Touch is off of the Invisible Touch album.
Oh, so you're saying you can only...
I Can't Dance is off of We Can't Dance, actually.
Oh, okay.
That was their last big hit album, actually. This is the twilight of Phil Collins and Genesis. That this was a big hit. It had the No Son of Mine and Jesus He Knows Me on it. Hold On My Heart was probably the biggest hit.
All right. Number 8, Good For Me by Amy Grant.
That's from Heart in Motion, and there were so many hits off that album.
The only Amy Grant song I know is like That's What Love Is For or something.
You don't know Baby Baby?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do.
And also Every Heartbeat has come up on this.
Do you think like Amy Grant was the first person to like give somebody money and be like, no, I don't need it. You put it towards scientific research. And so that's why they're called grants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you get one from her, it is referred in academia as an Amy Grant. They're big.
They're huge.
You get a lot. It's an endowed professorship in losing your religion.
Oh, wow. Number 7 is I Love Your Smile.
REM also has one of those.
Number 7, I Love Your Smile by Shanice.
I like that song.
Do you still like it? Or has Eric ruined it for you?
I like it better now.
Oh, okay. Number 6, Masterpiece by Atlantic Star. Sar? Because there's 2 R's.
Anybody know that one?
No.
We'll go to the middle. Oh, you probably do.
Oh, yeah.
Early 90s really had a sound.
That's right. I believe we...
This is off of a collection called The Softer Side of Soul.
Yeah.
And that's like a slow dance at my 8th grade dance right there, for sure.
You beat me to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I was going to say that too.
Well, we're the same person.
Yeah. Number 5, I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred.
Oh, wow.
I know that one.
You'll know the rest of these.
You know what I get that mixed up with in my head? Supermodel by RuPaul.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can hear that.
I feel like RuPaul would like this song too.
My love's going to leave.
That's right.
This is a weird one to try to explain to your children. They're like, this
I can't
was
explain
popular?
it to
And you're
anybody,
like,
I don't think. How did that
Yeah.
song get to number 5?
And it's actually probably coming down. Let's see.
yeah, I'm sure it is.
It was number
I bet
1.
it didn't.
Yeah, it was number 1 at one time.
Because at one point it was sort of,
This is...
it's got the word sexy in it. And then it became like they would show an ironic visual, like a grandma walking a dog or something, and then they would play that music, and then it was like, you're never going to not hear that for the rest of your life because they can do that gag.
Yeah, this was its 14th week on the charts. I'm Too Sexy.
Yeah, it was popular.
Number 4, Remember the Time by Michael Jackson.
Featuring
I remember that time.
Eddie Murphy and Magic Johnson in the video. Ancient Egypt morphing.
Oh, that one. Okay. That's
I
kind
think,
of cool.
yeah, it was fine. I think that's probably the best song on that album, actually. It's not a really tough contest.
No. Was that... what album was that? Was that the History album?
Dangerous. So it has Remember the Time. It has Black or White, which you either like or you don't. It's got Dangerous, the title track, which wasn't even popular. Heal the World, if you like that. And then it's got the song from Free Willy on it.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay. Now you're speaking my language here. That had a moment in my household.
Yeah. I mean, it did. I mean, especially when you have the image of the whale. Spoiler alert. Free. It's in the title.
Now I can't watch it.
That's right. You've ruined it.
Yeah, they make it in Apollo 13 too, Phil. Sorry. And the Joker's the bad guy in all the Batman movies.
Even when
if
he
seems
doesn't
cool at the beginning.
Even when he doesn't appear in.
Sometimes that's true. Like in the latest Batman movie, in The Dark Knight, or Batman Begins, right?
No.
There's a card at the end.
Yeah, but he's not the bad
like the
guy.
threat of the Joker's in it, even if he's not.
All right. Number 3 is Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton.
Ugh, no. That's a no from me.
That's right.
Yeah, but you can't not like it. It's about his dead child.
I always like...
it makes you an a-hole if you don't like it.
Oh, come on. I can, like...
You just have to be neutral about it and move along. It's actually not about that. It's he wrote it for the maybe it is about that, but it was originally on the Rush soundtrack, which is about heroin addiction and cops, I think. So I don't know. I don't know. I always associate it with that because it's so sad and it sounds like it's about that. Gary, do you know?
I don't know. I just like the there's the Mr. Show sketch where they're kind of making fun of it, where he's like, "Yeah, this song's for my dead son," and then the other guy like wins the award. He's like, "Yeah, this is also for his dead son." It's like, you can't do that. You can't dedicate it to my dead son.
Like, I feel like there was like a pop-up video about it or something. I think that is what it's about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
According to pop-up video.
Well, that is a truly tasteless episode of pop-up video.
Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know.
But I like the idea of truly tasteless pop-up video. It's only on after midnight. I watched the hell out of that.
Number 2, "To Be With You" by Mr. Big.
Oh
okay.
man,
Yeah.
that's a rock hair metal anthem.
And right, and then number 1, appropriately, Vanessa Williams, "Save the Best for Last."
Right. Sometimes the sun goes around the moon, and sometimes the snow comes down in June.
Ah,
Just when I thought our
conspiracy
chance
theories
had
spun
passed.
off of that.
That's right. Not since Alanis Morissette's "Ironic" has a song been so wrong about things.
So I think we've talked about this already. That's the one where she didn't realize that they were a romantic couple. They were just friends, and then that's what the saving the best for last was, is that he told her he loved her or something. Is that what's going on in that song?
I don't remember. I don't know.
I couldn't begin to tell you.
Sounds like a very elaborate story.
I mean, it's a friendship that turns into a relationship. It's not that uncommon, actually.
Mm.
Haven't you ever had one of those, Phil?
I have.
When?
A long, long time ago.
This is where it starts.
In kindergarten.
Oh, marriage rap.
He's it's the boy that helped you clean up the puzzle.
Plot twist.
This is your wedding toast to Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Why was he in that kindergarten classroom? He was 13. Well, yeah, those were the songs, Gary.
Yep.
And I'm supposed to ask our guest an either or question to get us started talking about No Doubt's eponymous album.
That's right.
Okay, so I am going to say this was a commercial failure, you guys. I said it earlier. 30,000 copies, not even for sale here in the Midwest, which No Doubt actually found out while on tour that they had to fund themselves. Because Interscope was like, nah. But they opened for some famous people, but they just had to pay to drive there and bring their own instruments and stuff. And then when they got to a city like ours, they'd be like, you can't even buy album in this town anywhere. So anyway, they got more popular is what I'm trying to get at. I don't know if you noticed in 1995 they released a multi-platinum album, so they were good to go after that. There was another album between the two called the Beacon Street Recordings, but this was the beginning. It was a collection of songs that were kind of gestating or kind of just old songs, actually, that went back to 1987. And two guys formed the band at a Dairy Queen. So either you think they got better and then got popular, or they didn't. I don't know what is the opposite of that. That they you like this better. You think that they were, when they were unpopular and unsuccessful, it was better stuff.
Wait. What?
Do you like Tragic Kingdom better than this?
I don't think that they got better and then they got popular.
Okay, so you're voting for the opposite of that.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I think that maybe she hit a zeitgeist I don't know if I'm using that word right, like moment with like the girl power sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't the bass player dump her and she got all inspired with songs from, because weren't half of those songs about their breakup?
Probably, yeah.
And her brother also is no longer in the band.
Yeah, like the behind the music said something about like she kept coming to them with these songs and he knew it was about their breakup, but he was encouraging it because like they were just such great songs, and that's what I thought about the later album.
Yeah, so they started as a literal garage band. Gwen was the band leader's little sister, and she got to sing backup vocals. That was how all this went down. But I think he was out of there while they were still practicing in the garage. So, but that was many, many years later. And actually, the other guy that worked at the Dairy Queen.
Eric's on this album, though. He was playing keyboards on this album.
Yeah. He was out before, though. Like, she had to argue for him to be even on the cover, and he's, like, out of focus in the back. Because he had left. Okay, so I'm off on the garage. But he formed the band with this other guy, Spence, and he left Stefani left the band, and then Spence committed suicide. So a really, really different band once
started.
Tragic Kingdom came out, and from then on.
Well, right.
The other thing that
they dumped the horn section.
Well, they dumped the horns, like, sort of in spirit. Like, they were still there. They come in, like, in the final 20 seconds of Spiderwebs. And,
well, no, at the beginning, really.
I mean, Spiderwebs is their most ska song on Tragic Kingdom, I think. You're right. Go on, Jeannie. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
No, you're fine. No, I guess I'm trying to think if I agree with that. I mean, I guess so. Like, but I just feel like they're just a band. Like, when I listened to this No Doubt album, I feel like they're just experimenters. And they are a very ska band, but they do a lot of other stuff. And
they kind of jump from one style to another a lot. It's very raw, I think. They're still like
I said, it was like, here's all the songs that we've recorded or that we've played live from 86 to 92. And essentially it's like, well, let's cobble together all the best ones and make our debut album. But it was like some of the songs that people liked in concert in 88 or whatever were included, even though they had probably evolved as a band. Plus, obviously, during this period, you got people coming and going and leaving the band. And so it was a long period of time. So maybe that makes kind of a lot of sense, like the evolution of this band. But you're saying what it evolved into is this, or you think that like they're what I guess I wonder is, Jeannie, do you think they're finished evolving at this point
in 2022, the year of our Lord?
Yeah, well, they aren't a band anymore.
Oh, at this point. So you mean like at 1992? Oh, definitely not done evolving, right? Because like after Tragic Kingdom, they went really pop, I feel. So no,
more pop than Tragic Kingdom, even. Although they described this album as too pop for the radio at the time.
It's very
the internet.
Too upbeat.
I think too upbeat is what I would say, not pop. But it's interesting because like I was telling Phil, like that first song on No Doubt, it sounds almost exactly like a song on Tragic Kingdom. Like
I heard it.
Yeah. I mean, so I think
I know what you mean. I actually felt like that I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I thought this album was going to sound like in a way, but it didn't keep sounding like what I thought it was going to sound like either.
No, I mean they had some really interesting moments. But that's what I'm saying. I think they mix it up in such interesting ways. Like Gwen's voice in and of itself just really intrigues me because she does that whole like, I don't know what era. What 40s or something like?
There was like I heard
Betty
70s,
Boop
I heard
almost.
40s, I heard 20s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she also does this on Spiderweb. She sort of sings more traditional male ska, almost like the guy in the Boss Tones sings. It's like really gravelly and kind of aggressive, whereas she's got a variety of different things she does with her voice. I mean, for me, it's just so, so obvious to anyone that, has heard any of the songs off of Tragic Kingdom or any of their other stuff that it's like she's the main attraction. And it's funny to think of her as being the backup singer for quite some time. And they didn't notice that was kind of they could have been using one of their secret weapons all along. But it was one of those guys singing, Spencer Stefani, and a lot more keyboards. There's keyboards on this album if you hear, but
that's what Eric Stefani was playing. He was the keyboardist,
right? And so those do not appear on Tragic Kingdom, I don't think, very much. But there's a lot of keyboards on this album. What do you think of this? This is the first time you've ever listened to this, you guys? Phil?
Yeah, so as soon as we said we would talk about it, I was like, well, I guess I gotta listen to it. And
true. Good one.
I know, so I could at least have something to say about it, right? I liked it. I suggested No Doubt because Jeannie's a bit more of a No Doubt fan. Like I've always appreciated them. I don't think I've ever owned one of their albums, but when we were listening to the No Doubt, what I really liked about that album is I really kind of felt like at points I thought I knew where the song was going, but then they'd throw something new that I was like, oh, that's kind of surprising. That's interesting. Like they really kind of kept it going that way and kept my interest going, I guess, if you will. I thought it was interesting. It's very upbeat. Like I read the same thing you read, Eric, where it said that like they just came out at the wrong time. Like grunge was starting to become popular. Everybody was angry and everything. Like I don't think that she was always singing about happy things, but the album is very upbeat and almost kind of happy. People want to go there and listen to it and have fun and maybe dance to it as opposed to, I don't know, be angry about things.
Well, and the thing is I think that they did draw the crowds in the OC, which is where they're from, Anaheim, which is the whole Magic Kingdom reference. But they did draw a lot of people. That's, I think, how they got signed, was that people went to their concerts, like A&R guys, and she would wear those track pants and stage dive and really get the audience going. And you can imagine that she would. She's about 8 years older than I am, so she would have been 22 at the time. So she was a youthful rockin' Gwen Stefani, and she's an entertainer. So she's on a TV show now, right?
Yeah, she's great. I mean, it's impressive what she was able to do live, I think. And also, like, really, like, girl powery, you know? Like, just leading that sort of a band. And, like, if you've seen, like, some of the videos, I think there's a video in Tragic Kingdom for, like, the song 16, which is kind of like, they go pretty hard on the guitars in that song. And the video for it, she's just, like, sweating and, like, really into her stage presence. Like, it's just, I don't know. I always have admired her for that.
Well, it is funny how mainstream they felt when they came out in '95 with the album, sort of in the midst of both a ska revival, but also that post Green Day punk wave of like 182s and such. That it's just sort of fit in, and it had those really expensive videos and stuff. But I really feel like that there's something extremely different sonically going on in Tragic Kingdom than there is on this album. And I wonder, listening to it, if it is just very cheaply produced, which is funny because they, like I said, they re-recorded it in the studio, but I don't think it was the best studio, guys. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't sound great, you know?
I think all of the, aside from Gwen Stefani, I think all the instruments, like the bass and the guitar, like you can tell that they know their craft. There's a lot of parts I was kind of impressed with, but to go with that they'll change something as quick as they started something else and there's something new, it does kind of seem like a modge-podge of an album the whole time. Like it's just this and then that and then this and that, and it's a little, and at the same time a little disorderly. I think Tragic Kingdom is a lot more like crafted, like they probably got a producer who was being paid a little bit more.
Actually, what they got was, I was thinking that, and what they got was the guy who produced Bush's 16 Stone album started his own sub record company, and he really wanted to produce them. So he signed them within the Interscope label to his sub label and produced the album. So he had this idea, I think, of what some changes he wanted to make with the album and some how he wanted to present the band and stuff, which is what they didn't really get, like you said, on this first one. They did get a producer, the guy that wrote the songs, some of the songs for Mulan, produced this album.
Huh.
And he also, let's see, I want to make sure I get the guy's name right. But he also played the singing voice of main male figure in Mulan. That was one of his other things. Oh, and he also had a hit single in the early 80s. Tell you what it was in a second. I'll come back to it. Gary, you don't have any thoughts yet?
Yeah, so I guess this album it did not sit with me too well, honestly. I was, and I was surprised because like I went through Scott Period. I have the Dancehall Crashers album. I have what this is kind of actually reminded me of the most was like, oh, this no doubt at one time sounded like Dancehall Crashers, which they came from the same area, so it's not too surprising. So
it would open for them a lot.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
open for the Chili Peppers and Fishbone and stuff like that.
And and I guess it was just like stuff that I just it's it's what it is. And like one song I know, like that Paulina song didn't sit well with me. I was kind of like,
wait,
that was probably the worst song on the album.
Wait, Paulina. Okay, I have an idea about this song, Paulina. I think that it is a ripoff of a Blondie song.
Oh yeah.
Call Me.
No, what's The Tide Is High?
Paulina. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm serious though.
Okay, I'm gonna play it, and we're all gonna guess which. The Tide Is High.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's got the island horns.
Yeah, maybe I can hear that a little bit.
The tide is high, but I'm holding on. It's sped up. Don't worry, they didn't make any money off of ripping off Blondie. Nobody bought this.
But honestly, okay, like that kind of vibes with me, like that she would be taking from Blondie. Like they later covered an ABBA song, right? Like, on a later album, but she strikes me as sort of Blondie-esque. Like she
is blonde.
Well, because she's blonde, yes, that is why.
That's why. It looks like she didn't have a writing credit on that song. Actually, she did write the majority of it, but she's not credited as writing on that one, which makes sense because she's like doesn't sing on it really. She's just kind of doing the background on Paulina. Because that's so.
Well, and that's probably an older song then, right? Because I think that, okay, so Matthew Wilder, you guys, he's an American musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer. In early 1984, his single, Ain't nobody gonna break my stride. Ain't
Yes.
gonna hold me down.
That's a good song.
It hit number 2 on the Billboard Top 100. And he also wrote the music for the Disney animated feature Mulan and provided the singing voice for the character Ling. And he produced Tragic Kingdom. So they did get him like a real producer for that album. And What's His Bucket hated it. Gwen's brother didn't like that.
Well, he went and wrote or drew characters for The Simpsons or something.
Which, who's to say which was a cooler thing to do,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if he is famously created any characters, looks, or anything?
I don't know. I could probably find out.
One thing that I thought was an interesting little nugget that I learned about this album was like during the period of time that they were, touring and playing gigs in OC and writing these songs and recording this album for the first time and everything, they were all in school. So they all graduated from college because it took them so long to get famous. They just kept plugging away. And even though this was such a failure, they played for another 3 years before they had a big hit, or any kind of a hit, actually.
Well, I can tell you that Eric Stefani drew the scene where No Doubt appears in The Simpsons from the episode Homer Palooza. But more interestingly, in my mind, he was an animator for the Ren and Stimpy show.
Oh, yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's really different work than being a rock star, I feel like. But I hope he's happy. I don't really care for the songs that he's associated with, really, on this album. To me, it just seems like I wouldn't say that I'm the most commercial audience, or like I need it to be slickly produced, or I like that 80s sheen very much. But I'll tell you what, I was listening to Spiderwebs and Just a Girl, and they sound like $1 million compared to this album, I feel like. It just sounds bad to me. I can tell they're trying some stuff out, and I feel like if I saw them live, like it'd be fun probably, but I wouldn't like the music per se. I don't think there's anything catchy here. I agree that it's interesting how many instruments there are and all the different things they're trying. Like some of it sounds almost like the late 90s swing revival thing that happened, like the Squirrel Nut Zippers.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
That was like a throwback then, but it was just, obviously way out of time. And they didn't really stick with the ska thing, like you're saying, Jeannie. Like the late 90s and the 2000s, they were just like almost like and there's some songs that are Gwen Stefani only and some songs that are No Doubt still in the 2000s, but I can't tell them apart. Like, it's not like, the horns mean it's a No Doubt song in 2001 or whatever. Like, it doesn't sound like this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tragic Kingdom, they pretty much admitted that it was the Gwen show. And from then on, it just seemed like they were building a point to her solo career. So, I mean, I liked this album in that I did like the experimentation. I thought that they were just like trying a whole bunch of stuff out. And that was probably, I don't know, maybe that was like the formative piece to them being able to do so many different things in subsequent albums. But they just seemed to just not care. Like they're going to do whatever they wanted to. To me, like the cheesiest song was that Merrily Merrily song.
Oh yeah, that was bad too.
Where it's like you're basically just singing "Row, row, row your boat." It was a little cringe for me.
Which one's that? Sinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some cringe for sure. There's one that sounds like a precursor to Don't Speak.
Yes.
Is it this one? No, this is the one that made me feel like the Squirrel Nut Zippers. I forget what the one like that sounds bad for me. Who knows? Yeah, this is wow. There's some weird stuff on this.
This one that you're hearing right now.
This is called "Sad for Me."
So to me, yeah, I mean, it was a little strange, right? But I felt like they revisited that sort of thing in Tragic Kingdom, in the song Tragic Kingdom. Like they kind of got a little weird on that song.
So the weirdness hung around a little.
Yeah, I think
on the deep album cuts.
Well, and even Tragic Kingdom had some songs that were cringe, like the song "Different People." It's like a little like I'm finding my way in the world and discovering that there are different people in the world, and
there are.
I mean, the lyrics are cringy.
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
She was in her early 20s still, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
She learned that no matter your color or creed, the more you know.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like, you know.
Yeah.
But did you guys watch the video for "Trapped in a Box"?
No, they made that themselves for $5,000, and
It's
it was
adorable.
never played on VH1 or MTV, but it was played on Much Music in Canada.
I thought it was adorable.
Much Music, I remember that.
It just looked like a party that I wanted to be at, and she looked so cute, like so cute.
I mean, she's really cute.
She's really cute.
I mean, she's very, very cute.
She was totally like my high school like girl crush. Like I adored her in high school.
Phil, you sounds like you watched the Behind the Music.
I think so. Like when I just remember them talking about, I think it was on Behind the Music, how it sounds very Fleetwood Mac, like how they were dating and they broke up, but they were still in the band, and she was so heartbroken, and they were kind of on break after a tour, and then she came to Tony, is that the bass player, right? And said, "Hey, Tony, I have these songs, but they're very private, and this is just what I'm writing." And he's like, "When I read it, I knew it came from the heart, and we had to make them." And but I mean, I don't know Tragic Kingdom that well, but the only one that I really sounds really connected to that is that "Don't Speak" song.
Oh yeah,
I know of, and I think that's only. But I just remember. I think it was. I saw all the Behind the Music, but they all blur.
The video for Trapped in a Box looks to me like it's shot on the same day, in the same stage that the theme song to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was shot.
Oh, that's so great.
I heard
it looks like somebody handmade these. Yeah, so the bass player is wearing like suspenders, and he's got an upright bass, and the guitar player's got a banjo, and Gwen's got a flapper dress on in the middle of this video. So, it's interesting.
And the song doesn't sound anything like that.
No, that song. I mean, that's the thing. There's no single on this album. Even if some of the songs are,
that was the single, I thought.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's no single on this album. Yeah, there's none of these. They even released like a box set or a singles collection or something like that was really big, and it only had one song off this album on it. Like their whole career. It's not a great album. Anybody got anything else to say about it other than the fact that Gwen Stefani is cute? I mean, the guys in the band are all good looking too. It's that
Handsome
California
fellas.
genetics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's handsome down there. They all thought they could be actors. You take a bunch of people who everybody told them they should be an actor because they're so handsome or beautiful their whole life, and then they move to California and they have children, and that's where you get No Doubt children.
There you go.
And that's where No Doubt comes from, Gary.
Yes.
Do you want to give the stars?
Yeah. We rate. At the end of talking about it, we usually rate the piece of art that people worked very hard to make, and
Well, you don't have to. You want to change the format?
No.
This is a weird way to bring it up.
It's we usually rate it out of 4 stars. I will give No Doubt self-titled debut 2 stars. I'll give it 2 stars. Jeannie, Phil, how many stars?
Well,
ahead,
I
babe.
think that since I seem to have liked it a little better than you did, I'm going to give it 2.5.
Sounds good.
Is that possible?
That's very fair. Phil?
I might be willing to give it a 3, only because, like, as much as I've enjoyed any No Doubt album, I think I've enjoyed this as much. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't my favorite. So actually, maybe a 2.5, right there in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's
2 would be the middle. 2 would be the middle. I think I did this last time I talked to you guys. I keep wanting to think it's a 5-point scale.
Well, if you want to use a 5-point scale, there's really no way we can stop you.
That's no. I know, Eric. I will stop recording. I will turn this off. And
I will say
I'll
a
turn this car
2.5
around.
because I'll be nice, because the extra 0.5, because I do appreciate all their musicianship. There was some good riffs in there, I thought.
I agree. Good guitar.
Yeah, good things are her singing sometimes. Sometimes it's also cringe. She's finding her way. Some of the instruments are good. Some of the instruments sound sort of pre-recorded to me. I didn't enjoy the beats always. I'd give this 1 star. I don't like it, but
ouch.
It's fine. I think that if some people like it, that's great, and I love them for it. Like Phil, who wants to give it 3 out of 4 stars.
No, he wanted to give it 3 out of 5 stars.
This might be the widest range of opinion if he were to give it 3. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. We're all over the board with this album.
3.
I really don't think he wanted to give it a 3. I mean,
Who, this guy?
Yeah, you. I don't think you meant that, because a 3 out of 4 is pretty good.
Yeah, and so that's why I brought it back down 2, but then for 2.5 for good measure.
Yeah.
3 out of
Just
4
because-
is like for setting your barometer. That's like REM's Monster. That's 3 stars out of 4.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
It's a lot of great songs, but
Yeah.
it's kind of repetitive in the production. It's hard to listen to the whole album at once. 3 out of 4 stars. That's how I would.
Look, hey, listener, you get a bonus rating of REM's Monster on this episode. We should give us 4 stars.
Yeah, that's the kind of content you can get at my OnlyFans.
That's
Whoa.
on that
Okay.
note. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about My Cousin Vinny from director Johnathan Lynn.
A funny thing happened to William and Stanley on their way to college. At what point did you shoot the clerk? They got framed for murder. Whoa! Wait a minute! Now, 2 kids from New York are in deep trouble. It's time to make your phone call.
The clan's here. They're in bed. They sleep with their sisters.
In the deep south. Some of them do. And only one man can save them.
We need to call an attorney, a great attorney.
He's not your typical hero.
We got an attorney in the family. Great, who?
He's
My cousin Vinny. You stick out like a sore thumb around here. Oh, yeah, you blend. You graduated from law school 6 years ago. What have you been doing since? Studying for the bar. That's a lot of studying. What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
Sure. I just actually never seen a grit before.
It's his first case. Now, didn't I tell you to dress appropriately?
You were serious about that?
Will you handle that charge? Oh, you're smooth.
Welcome back to my so-called podcast. I'm Eric Spiegel still,
And I'm still Gary Linton.
and we still have our guests. You guys can introduce yourselves.
We're still the Norrises.
Yeah, that's
Oh
us.
yeah, still the Nora. Still
Marriage
one.
intact.
The Norris. We haven't fought yet.
Yeah, it got a little dicey there. We were talking about tea puzzles and first loves, but we moved on. We moved that over.
I think no doubt cemented Yes.
They both feel mildly entertained by the first No Doubt album, so they can bond over that. Just like that couple in that song "Breakfast at Tiffany's," where they're like, "We don't." The girl said, "We don't have anything in common," and the guy's like, "You remember that one movie that we both kind of liked?" That's what that song's about. And then he wrote a song about kind of liking a really terrible movie, actually, honestly. I rewatched that with my children, and they're like, "Why did you show this to us?" And I was like, "I don't know, guys. This is not good. This is kind of a mess. I mean, she's wonderful, obviously, but the movie around her's tacky." Did you want to know about the box office movies that you could go see instead of My Cousin Vinny?
Why you'd want to?
Well, that's just what we do on the podcast. The other movies that were out were this is March. We have to remember March in 1992 is a time when the studio was really kind of dumping content that it didn't think would be very good or make very much money, or stuff that was released around the holiday season that was still out. So number 10 is a movie called Gladiator, which is not the one with Russell Crowe. It's a movie about boxing that nobody went to see. Number 9 is The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Rebecca De Mornay is, 10 years after Risky Business is now Psycho Nanny, which I feel like that's what would be called, this movie would be called if it came out now. It'd be like postmodern, self-aware Psycho Nanny movie, and it would just be called Psycho Nanny, and it'd be on the Sci-Fi Network. Number 8, Medicine Man with Sean Connery, and I think Lorraine Bracco, maybe,
yeah.
Was she in Goodfellas?
Yes.
It's a weird cast. Lorraine Bracco and Sean Connery in an action movie. It wasn't that. It was kind of a big hit too, made by the Disney people. Number 6, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. You guys know who starred in that movie?
Estelle Getty.
That's right. Nobody else.
Whoa.
Number 6.
Gosh.
Article. No, it's Sylvester Stallone. He's saying,
"You really
Stop or My
got me
Mom Will
there."
Shoot.
Well, Estelle Getty's the mom.
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot has the trailer moment where Sylvester Stallone says, "Stop! Well, my mom will shoot!" Just like in the My Cousin Vinny trailer where Ralph Macchio gets to go, "My Cousin Vinny!"
What?
Number 5, Fried Green Tomatoes, still out in the theaters 12 weeks after it was released, which I assume was released in a few theaters to begin with for Oscar consideration. For your consideration, Gary. Fried Green Tomatoes, the Whistle Stop Cafe. I was sort of thinking about how movies don't tend to make $57 million like Fried Green Tomatoes. Like movies like that don't get made anymore, first of all, and second of all, they don't make $57 million at the box office.
Well, they don't get released to the box office. They're on Netflix or Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like even that kind of a movie where it's like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of the light drama at points, but then it's got some serious parts. Takes place in the past and also the present. I mean, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of movies that get made that way anymore.
Well,
tone.
Okay, the tone. I mean, before you were describing like the exact elements that make up Fried Green Tomatoes, and you were like, they don't make Fried Green Tomatoes anymore. It's like,
they make a movie based on a Fannie Flagg novel that have Jessica Tandy and Kathy Bates in the present tense.
They just don't make that anymore.
Chris O'Donnell on the train tracks in the past tense. Number 4, American Me.
I don't know that one. What's American Me? No.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an Edward James Olmos movie. Number 3, Lawnmower Man, I Am God Here, New Line Cinema.
I remember the best part about that is the end when he's like access denied, access denied, access denied. And he's like in the cyberspace trying to break out.
He's hacking fast. Gary.
That's right.
It was that was a modest hit. It was at number 2 this number 3 this week, number 2 the week before. I think it had a pretty good poster originally, and it was sort of attractive to be like, what's this about? You know, like I want to see this and see what it's about. Plus, in 1992, if your movie had computer generated imagery, it was like a really big deal.
I mean, Lawnmower Man had such an impression on me that even, 10 years later when I saw Jeff Fahey on Lost, I was like, it's Lawnmower Man.
There he is. Job.
That's right.
The Lawnmower Man himself. Number 2 at the box office, our movie, My Cousin Vinny, opening with a higher per-screen average than the number 1 movie, Wayne's World, in its 5th week at the box office.
Excellent.
When do you think the last time 2 big Hollywood comedies were number 1 and number 2 at the box office?
Probably 1992.
It's 30 years ago, exactly. So that's what was at the box office, March 13th, 1992.
So again, I'm going to kick off the conversation by asking our guests a question about My Cousin Vinny. My question is, either the script for My Cousin Vinny is so tight that it would have been a successful movie, or it's the acting performances that make this movie enjoyable.
So easy.
Okay.
It's definitely the second.
Okay.
The actors.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the judge.
Fred Gwynne is great as the judge. Yes. Yeah. I think as I was watching it this time, though, I think the reason I asked that question is I happened to notice I was like, it does a pretty good job of setting everything up and lining up and then knocking it all out. And so it's like, yeah, it's a pretty tight script. I agree, thought this time through. But I agree with you. It's probably the acting. I think somebody won a Best Supporting Actress award for this movie, Eric. Is that true?
Yeah, Aunt May did.
Okay.
And, people talk about star-making performances sometimes, and this is, I think, even if you've never seen her in anything else, and you saw her in this, you would see that she's a movie star. She's so spectacular in this movie. She just steals every scene, and she actually. I don't know. I don't know if I read these words on the page if I would think they were impressive, but she certainly has the greatest line delivery. I don't know why this character, Mona Lisa, is with Vinny. I wonder if in the script they're the same age. That would make more sense to me, I think.
There's a big age difference.
Yeah,
I know. That's a little freaky, but
he does seem like an old soul in the movie, though.
That's true. And I feel like I needed a couple lines about how they got together or why there's such an age gap. Like, just address it.
They met in her dad's garage.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the whole story?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't explain why he's 50.
Yeah.
Well, he's very charismatic.
It's true. I mean, this is one of the most likable performances with our man Joe Pesci, and it's really interesting to think of something like Goodfellas or Casino where he's so menacing, and so, kind of terrifying at points.
And Home Alone, he's real scary in Home Alone.
Real menacing.
Home Alone is this. He's playing the bad guy for laughs, which is acting in a different register than this or that. I feel like the screenplay is a classic Hollywood fish out of water, little guy wins big story, But I think you're right. It sets everything up really well. The first half of the screenplay feels like setting up the pins.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last half of the movie is just pure enjoyment. I do think that does. I mean, that's the right way to go. If you're going to pick like the first half is not so great and the second half's almost perfect, then the other way around, which then you think it's a bad movie.
Yes.
But the first portion of this movie, especially before we get to see Mona Lisa and Vinny, is a slog. It's like, here's the plot and here's some really unbelievable misunderstandings.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you enough about it for you to understand. And Ralph Macchio and his friend are not framed, but they are charged with murder. They didn't do it. They call Vinny to be their attorney. They actually did a good job in the trailer telling you the plot. They like edited together all of the exposition scenes from the movie. And that wasn't a bad trailer, actually. Is there a trailer voice guy? Did you hear the trailer voice? I feel like they were using the actual voices from the movie, which was, but it is a little hard to take the misunderstanding after misunderstanding kind of stuff. And his friend, Ralph Macchio's friend, is not a funny guy. There's not funny lines, not funny delivery. And then he really drops out of the movie. Like, it's almost like they figured it out. They're like, just shut up, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm going to give a little bit of an alternative. Like, at the beginning, I did find that part plausible because I do think that, especially like, I don't know, just being out-of-towners, being strangers in a small southern town, like, it really is plausible that some really crazy stuff can happen to you. So I found that part plausible. What I was like really frustrated by was when when Vinny got there and he is having all these mishaps with the judge, like with his outfit and stuff. And I was just like, come on, like the gag just doesn't.
That's what's funny though.
That wasn't, I don't know.
You were serious
I mean, that's part of the setup too, right? The setup is he looks like an income because of his manners, because he's late, he's rough around the edges. But the thing that's so winning about this movie is that he's good at his job, and she's wicked smart, and that's what they like about each other, which is really refreshing, I think. Like when they have that little debate over the faucet. That's a really classic scene, I think. Like, he's upset that the faucet is dripping, and instead of just turning it off, they have this long debate back and forth over the fact that she did turn the faucet off, even though it's still dripping.
And that like this scene preceding that, right before, was Ralph Macchio talking to his friend, being like, "Look, you don't know my family. They like to argue. They know he knows how to argue." And then it goes to that scene, and it's like, okay, so they're showing us that, and you do see, they're very good at arguing. So it serves 2 points, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I ended this movie thinking I would watch a movie that had Vinny and Mona Lisa go to some other town, solve some other crime, get somebody off. Like, I could watch that TV show. I like their vibe. I like that they fight and they make up. Like, it's kind of they're just sort of passionate people,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's their dynamic's very enjoyable. She's wonderful, and the movie it's sort of like an exponential curve. Like, it starts off slow for me, but it just keeps getting better as it goes along.
It really sold me to the end. Like, at the beginning, I had never seen this movie before. This was my first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I was 6, remember, when it came out.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have seen it. It's inexplicably rated R, though. Like,
it's a bunch of F-bombs is why.
Right now, I understand, but like,
they needed to be in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess that's a good point. It's just silly, though, right? Like, it just shows the rating system's kind of nonsense.
Yeah, Silas liked it. I mean,
he liked the F-bombs.
No, he liked the movie in general. But I think at the beginning, both of us were going like, what is going on with this movie? Like, it was set, like the setup was so, like you said, like really kind of drawing it out to the point where I was like, I don't understand. Like, they just made Joe Pesci's character seem almost too stupid at times.
But he redeemed himself by the end.
Oh, yeah. I said, like, towards the end, I was like, oh, this is great.
And I think you need to have him start pretty low in order to get that high by the end, you know?
Yeah.
So
and it's like he's sort of like the class clown. He almost can't help himself. It's not like he's stupid. It's just he doesn't want to take the judge and the law as seriously as the judge expects him to. And I really appreciate the amount of time they do spend on the judge character, and they show him. They have this. I feel like the subplot of him trying to figure out what kind of a lawyer this guy really is, or how many cases he's had, really allows that character by Fred Gwynne to have some space other than just scolding him from the bench. Which I really, I mean, like he's like, yeah, I'm in a small Nowheresville town, but I'm smart, and we're gonna practice real United States here, and I don't want and the formalities is kind of the way that he does it. So you buy that character's stiffness in the courtroom, and you understand where it's coming from. So it's not like you're against him and he's a bad guy. And so then they get to do the thing towards the end where he's won over by not Vinny but Mona Lisa, and that's really cute. It's really kind of a clinic on the plot structure as far as like. It's almost like saves its pleasures for the last like 45 minutes just to really knock it home. And it's surprising to me, like it's a formula movie in a lot of ways, but it's one of those ones that really works. But it's not a formula we see very much anymore.
Yeah.
This movie was written by Dale Launder, who he hasn't written a lot. He wrote Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Blind Date and Ruthless People. But what was also
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is a funny movie.
Yeah. What's also interesting though is that like he has producer credit on My Cousin Vinny also, and like actual producer, like this is where we're putting the money producer credit. So he wrote it and produced it. So it's almost more like it's his movie. Being in those two roles as opposed to the director, you know.
Well, and I not only read that book about the Bonfire of the Vanities, The Devil's Candy, but I also listened to the You Must Remember This is about Polly Platt's career, and just to say that you're reflecting upon stories from Hollywood, the job of the producer is highly varied. What they do beforehand and what they do during production and then after can be lots and lots of different things. And so, I wouldn't be surprised if this was he was really, really protective and wanted to make sure that the screenplay was well made because he knew it was a hit, you know. I could see somebody writing the screenplay and being really precious with it because they're like, this is good, you know, this is going to be fun. I will say one thing that's not good is the score and the songs used in the film are very poor.
They're odd.
The score is really like TV movie level annoying and bad. Sort of like we're in the South, kind of a thing. I didn't care for that.
Well, the other thing that was awkward was the stuttering character.
Yes.
And they had said they regretted doing, like the actor really regretted because he had a real stutter in real life that he had gotten over, I think, but that he regretted doing that role big time. And I did have to talk to my kid about it and be like, you know, like that maybe wasn't a good depiction.
Right, yeah, because it was played for laughs, you know, it would be...
I mean, his comic timing, that actor's comic timing in that scene is perfect, though.
Yeah.
And he's, like, spitting in the faces of he overplays it so much. I know what you mean, like, it's not okay, but like you understand why. If somebody wasn't thinking about why it's harmful, that they would think it was funny. I don't know. He'd probably be a little easier on himself. But yeah, I mean, obviously, any kid that sees that has a stutter is going to feel terrible, right? But yeah, it's an old-fashioned comedy movie. And I'm surprised at how well it actually aged for being a comedy. There's a gay panic scene in the beginning too, right? Where it's yet another misunderstanding. Ralph Macchio's friend thinks that Vinny is there to have prison sex with him, but he's there to be, and it goes on forever, right?
It does.
And it's
that one went right over, obviously, over my kid's head.
Right. Like, just clear it up. Like, hey, I'm Vinny. I'm his cousin. I'm here to represent you. Like, we I don't know. I don't have that much patience. There's a lot of misunderstandings.
Yeah.
A lot, right?
Movie.
Yeah.
People that could just say something and don't. It's just not. I don't like watching it. But Mona Lisa shows up. I think the turning point for me, where I was like, okay, I'm on board. Maybe it'll be good. Is when they show up to the diner and they look at the menu. Yeah. And they're like, well.
Oh yeah, breakfast.
Because the menu is breakfast $1.99, lunch $2.49, dinner $3.99, right?
I guess we'll have the breakfast.
And I forgot the gag about where they have to move like every night because something's waking them up at 4 or 5 in the morning. And so he's also sleep deprived. I think that's what they're trying to say with why he keeps messing up in court. He also keeps getting thrown in jail, which they use for comedic effect. Like after court, he rides in the same bus back to the prison with his client. That's very funny.
Let's not forget the other side story of the fight that's building up that he's going to have with the guy.
Yes, yeah, that's really good.
And when he finally punches him, he just skyrockets across the screen.
Oh my gosh!
We laughed so hard at that.
That's an amazing 2 seconds of film right there.
Yeah. Because the guy's like almost twice as tall as him, so he just lurches.
But the way that Mona Lisa has hustled a guy at the pool hall to make up for all the money she has to spend bailing Vinny out of prison for being an idiot. And he's going to get the money back. But that's also where I think it's really good writing, because it shows you his excellence, his strengths, which is he's intelligent and he can outthink you and he can be a little intimidating, and it's a real showcase for Pesci, and he really pulls it off. The guy's really a star in this movie, and he's been sort of second fiddle in most things. But and they made like a few more Joe Pesci starring, mainstream comedies like The Super and stuff that like nobody really cared about. But this one I remember it being a big hit. People really liked it at the movies, and in particular, people rented it a lot from Schnucks and from Blockbuster when it first came out. It was like if you hadn't seen it at the theater, people were telling each other to watch it. And I watched it, so Ash is in 8th grade, at same age as me, and you, Phil, I think, and you, Gary, and
we're the same age.
His main take on it was he just didn't understand the relationship between Mona Lisa and Vinny. It's like, what is their relationship? I don't understand their relationship. And I was like, yeah, you just don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I don't know either. I don't know if that's going to last.
Well, they got engaged at the end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, also sort of way behind the times where it's like the guy will let the girl get married and have kids if something good happens. Like, oh wow, okay. but I do think that the plot between them is that they have a dynamic going on too. Like, she wants to help and he doesn't understand how she could help. It's not like he's really keeping her out for any particular reason.
I think, and that's the payoff. I mean, that's the ultimate payoff, because they set that up right when they first get there. Right away, she's like, "Let me help. How can I help you?" Mm-hmm. And it's like, "Yeah, you can't. I don't know. How are you going to help me?" But then, yeah, that's the end. She does help, and she helps beautifully and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's the linchpin of everything. Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And it's also, like, it's plausible gobbledygook that she spouts as an expert witness that you're like, sure, okay, that's awesome. It's, you know what it seems like is like if I was a 18, 19-year-old kid and I really wanted to be a lawyer, like this would be like everything falling into place that I could be the most awesome and excellent lawyer, you know? He's doing it for free. He's helping out an innocent guy that's in his family, and he does it like a huge, awesome performance. And it's like everything falling into place for him to you know, it's a nice commercial for the American justice system too, because everything works out.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I mean, speaking of that, I just read that they were originally going to cast Ben Stiller and Will Smith. But they didn't want to because of the implications of imprisoning a Jewish and a black person in the South.
Wow. So Will Smith was going to be Ralph Macchio?
I don't know who was who, but that's wild.
Well, I mean,
that comes from
I guess
Wikipedia.
If you think about the level of both of their fame at the time, they would have been kind of supporting actor caliber, you know?
Yeah, it was a step down for Ralph Macchio. It would have been a step up for either of those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, you know, it seemed I didn't think Ralph Macchio was bad in this movie. I enjoyed him. He does sort of play the same character. It's like the Karate Kid was on his way in the South and got arrested, essentially. It's Daniel. There's not really he's got the Jersey accent still. Actually, at the beginning of the Karate Kid, they drive from Jersey to L.A. or whatever. So it's like 10 years later, the Karate Kid gets arrested for murder. They could have worked in some karate and called it Karate Kid 4, My Cousin Vinny.
They did want to do a sequel to My Cousin Vinny.
I would have watched it like they did. Go ahead.
No, and Marissa Tomei just didn't want to do it.
Why?
Or dropped out for some reason. So.
She knew it was perfect the way it was, and you couldn't just drive it into the ground. Because how could you really make a sequel?
She became a big deal after that. Like, there were romantic comedies built around her, and you know, she was in some dramatic roles. I don't know if she ever like totally went into the stratosphere per se. It's hard to, you know, top getting an Oscar right away, though.
Yeah, I think that the angle was that he would have been practicing law in England.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
See, that's a good idea. Just a different fish out of water thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I love Joe Pesci. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, he is. Didn't you find out about his recording career?
Yeah. I mean, again, things I learn on Twitter, right? I couldn't even believe that. And it's serious though, but like he has like a long recording career. Like he was like, who was it, Frankie Valli or something? Like
he was friends with him.
He was friends with him and started his career. And he has like this record called like Little Joe Sings Something or Other.
Yep.
I would love that record.
I wonder if it's like kind of Dean Martin-y, like Copacabana type songs.
Sort of, yeah. Like, so it's like he does covers, and if you can picture, what's that musical with all the singers like that, like the Italian singers. What is it? I just had it in my head. Come on, Eric. I thought you were the musical guy.
A musical about Italian singers?
Yeah, like... Oh, man.
Sweeney Todd? No, that's not Italian.
It's Jersey Boys.
Oh, Jersey Boys. Yeah. Sorry.
Like, it has, like, that kind of sound to it, like his voice does.
Uh-huh. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You think he's on Spotify?
Well, there's a couple of YouTube songs that you can hear. It's amazing. Like, all he wanted to be was a singer. Acting was like a consolation prize to him.
Oh, 1968, Little Joe Sure Can Sing.
Yeah.
Here he is singing Got to Get You Into My Life by the Beatles. That's not him yet.
Was alone, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would find there. Another road where maybe I could find another kind of mind there.
Yep, that's Joe Pesci.
You hear him, right? You hear
Yep.
his voice.
Yeah.
This album's got to Get You Into My Life, The Fool on the Hill, and Fixing a Hole on it. Fixing a Hole, that's an interesting choice. Actually, all three of those are strange.
But to me, like, it has a little bit of sadness to it that he really, really wanted to be a singer, and it just didn't work out for him. And it worked out for, like, people that he made singers. But, like, he acted, and it was fine, I guess. But that's not what he wanted to do. And then he released that, the rap thing. I don't know.
Are you talking about, there's an album from 1998 called Vincent LaGuardia Gambini Sings Just For You.
Yeah.
And the first track is called Yo, Cousin Vinny.
Yeah. That's it.
There we go. There's that Dean Martin I'm talking about. It's like you're at an Italian restaurant. Oh, wow. Joe Pesci. I go see Joe Pesci in concert.
Yeah.
He could open
Well,
for
now
Real
it's
Big
like-
Fish.
He could do it, right?
Yeah, he could. I mean, Keanu Reeves has done it. What's his name? Jared Leto's done it.
Russell Crowe.
Russell, 20 odd foot of grunt or whatever. Who else?
Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
Or Jeff Bridges, right?
Jeff Daniels does it.
Tim Robbins
see
did it
Jeff
for a
Daniels.
while.
I did. I've seen Jeff Daniels in concert.
What does he do? Does he look like
He does,
a
like-
Dumb and Dumber character?
No, man. So he does like folksy guitar type stuff, and he actually sang a song about my car. Like he did one of those things where he
Genie's
asks,
car.
Yeah, I'm not making this story up. This really happened. He asks the audience to give him a like your first car.
Mhm.
And so I shouted out, 2002 Chevy Cavalier with ground effects. And he laughed, and so he was like, all right, I'm going to sing a song about your 2002 Chevy Cavalier with ground effects. And he did.
Nice. I would like to hear that song. In the year of our Lord, 2002.
I would love to hear that song again.
10 years after my cousin Vinny came out.
This was before the era of smartphones, so it's only in my head.
Yeah.
Then sing it.
No, I mean, just the memory.
Times. Well, are we gonna rate? I take your pick. You can rate My Cousin Vinny, or you can rate Little Joe Sure Can Sing. Either way.
Real quick, there was one part of the movie
1968.
I liked. There was where the prosecutor was talking about, like, he mentioned something like, from England, where our ancestors come from, and then the movie cuts to a an African American woman in the jury box. And I was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's nice that there's a little bit of social commentary right there.
Well, not where my cousin Vinny's people came from either.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a nice job of the not just the big city, but the like a lot of personality. They don't really go for too many like really obvious ethnic stereotypes, which I think is nice. They kind of get past that into some specific characters really quickly, which is cool. I don't know why Mona Lisa doesn't just work at a garage or something though. Like she just doesn't want to, I guess.
She worked at her dad's shop. Maybe she got burned out.
Possible. She could be like a special guest on Car Talk.
Oh, yeah. Click and clack.
I would give My Cousin Vinny 3.5 stars out of 4. Because I think it ends up so great that it's a hearty recommendation for me.
Phil, Jeannie, you want to go and rate it? I'll let you guys go first.
Yeah. Oh, you want to go first this time, Phil?
5 out of 4.
Oh,
wow. The
I like the movie.
Fabled
I've
5 out of
liked
4.
It. I used to watch it a lot when I was a teenager.
So you're really giving it a 5 out of 4?
I would give it a 4 out of 4 then.
And you're right about that. I mean, it's been quite a while, but I'm with you as I watched it quite a bit too. It's got a lot of rewatchability. It's easy to rewatch.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd watch it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. I would have done a 3.5 out of 4, but hearing you all, champion the setup, I'm inclined to boost it to a 4 out of 4 because it is quite enjoyable. Like when it really hits, and you're like, oh, that was really neat to watch happen. So I might do a 4 out of 4, maybe a 3.8 out of 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it 3.5, 3.5 stars out of 4. So it's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should all go see it. You probably should watch it before listening to us talk about it, though.
If you have the ability of going to see it, I recommend that too.
Yeah.
I imagine they were talking about one of the film critics I follow, Ty Burr. He has a newsletter, and he was watching comedies in Toronto International Film Festival right now, and he said comedies that really work in a crowded theater is something that he's really been missing. And it's this movie, like on a Friday night with a packed audience at Ronnie's or whatever, would have been a lot of fun, I'm sure. Well, thanks so much, Phil and Jeannie, for being here for another trip back into the 90s. It's delightful.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
We will be back in another 2 weeks, Gary, I think. Most likely. Going back into the 90s. You can subscribe to us on any podcatchers that you have. Are you going to add the music in post?